And welcome everybody to This Is Difficult, the podcast, bringing you all the best video gaming news and video game bullshit that you ever heard of in the world. I am your co-host, Lord Yeshua. It's Josh in the flesh. Damn it, I promised I wouldn't make that joke again. And we are on Paul's channel. It's Ryugami-san himself, the great reveal. And we have Zach over here. It's another letdown. Don't let us down, baby girl. And we come to bring you the wide array of video game things. Tonight we have a good show, I believe, or not. It could be shit. I don't really know, but
we might.
We often have good ones.
I mean, it's been a couple weeks. We've been busy. We've had a lot going on. I haven't been able to.
Rusty.
It might be rusty. Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been prepping for like a IT certification, so I didn't really have much time to like put a lot together for tonight's show, but I still think we've got plenty to talk about. So, should be cool. Plus, because we haven't had a show in a few weeks, we've probably played a lot of games and have a lot to talk, a lot to catch up on.
Maybe. I'll be honest with you. The streaming cobwebs are real. Like I was off for a couple of shows and I went live on Friday and I couldn't remember how to be entertaining. Yeah. I was like, what is this? I got nothing. I'm just sitting here in dead silence, letting my co-hosts take the reins, and I'm like, this isn't.
It's a tough one. I gotta
go back and watch old episodes now because I don't remember how to do this.
If you think that's bad, go back to some of your first streams ever. You're just like,
dude, my first stream
shit. And I like had streamer rage and stuff, and like the things I would say and do, I'm just like, kill me.
My first streams ever, it was just like me like staring.
Yeah, Colin would always be like, keep talking. Stop being quiet.
I had to learn, well, and especially because like your first few streams, there's no one there, right? And so like you don't know how to talk, and there's no one to talk to. And if someone comes into your stream, they're just gonna see you staring at the screen, and so they're not gonna stay. So you have to kind of learn to talk to yourself. So you start like narrating the game that you're playing and like what you're doing, and that, just to kind of like have some form of content coming out. It's a weird feeling, but
it's hard.
I was lucky because most of my early streams I did with other people. So at least I do have someone else to talk to.
Nice. Having a co-op is really nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Co-op is such an awesome crutch for streaming.
Yeah,
I mean, we've said it a zillion times. Co-op solves a world of hurt.
It does.
Yeah, in a lot of directions. Yeah.
It sure does. But so what you guys been up to? Josh, tell me about your life lately and what games you've been playing, things you've been doing.
I've been busy. I had a friend come into town last week, so we couldn't do the podcast, but it's okay. Played some games because of that. So overall, me and Colin have been playing the free roam, whatever the fuck it's called, multiplayer mod for Elden Ring.
Yeah, and you guys streamed that a couple times, which was fun.
Streamed a couple times. We had an issue. We were going to stream it again last week and potentially today, but Colin actually had an issue with streaming it that time. And so we just like didn't. But it's such a fast game. Like last time we were like level 160 when we beat the giant, and it was so hard. And now we're like not even 100 right now. It's so insane. Spoiler alert. But who cares? It's really an amazing experience still, like so nice. And you can see how much fat is cut off with like without having internet like capabilities. Because this is technically not like using the internet capabilities from the From Software server. So you don't have any of the messages or any of the invaders or any of that shit. So there's a lot of stuff cut out. Like you save a lot of time. Anyway, what else? Played some Mario Kart. That's always fun with my friend when he came over.
I love Mario Kart.
Love that.
And I always forget about it.
I did some Mario Kart too, actually, now that you mention it. I went over to a buddy's house and we did Don't Drink and Drive.
I love that game.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Oh my God.
Awesome. Getting blasted.
Did
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Donald, his strategy was finish the race, park it, and shotgun the beer?
Oh, sure.
The shotgunning of the beer went all inside his controller.
Oh no!
I would have cried.
Horrible. And he was playing on an N64. He completely wrecked my buddy.
See, I've got two different techniques. For those of you who don't know what this game is, the object of the game is you open a beer and you start the race. Now you have to finish the race. Sanka, we have to finish the race. You have to do it before your beer is, or I'm sorry, you have to finish your beer before you finish the race. Yep. But the catch is you're not allowed to touch your controller while you're drinking the beer, because that would be drinking and driving. It's illegal.
Quite often you'll see people do it Edward 40 hand style, where you duct tape your hands to your buddy holds your hand, like you have both hands on your beer, basically.
How do you drive?
Confused about what you just said.
So like, okay, so like if I've seen it done where in order to prove that you are not touching your controller with either of your hands, when you have
to clutch it. You have to, yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, I see what you're saying. Anyway, so yeah, the point is you have to finish your beer before you finish the race, but you can't race while drinking the beer. So the two techniques that I use would be either slam it at the beginning and then race, which sometimes works, but it really depends on, how well the other people race, how much, how long it takes you to finish the beer, whatever. Or I'll try and get a sizable lead in the first, lap and a half, and then slam my beer and finish the race. Or slam half of it and then get real close, finish the race. Yeah. But there's a couple different ways you could do it. Some people cheat by drinking non-carbonated alcoholic beverages, which is bullshit.
That's not fair.
Like we were playing one time with my roommate Tim, and we had gone a few rounds and he was just destroying us every time. We're like, what the hell's going on? And we all noticed he was drinking twisted tea and we're all drinking beers. And he's like, well, I don't like beer. And I'm like, sorry, dude. We're either all drinking twisted teas now or you're drinking a beer. And certainly, it changed the results of the race.
Yeah. I hope so.
But yeah, it's a fun game.
What a bastard.
Yeah, what a bastard. Anything else going on, Josh? Any other games you play?
See. Trying to brush up on some Donkey Kong. It feels like I could get a run in soon. Someone's creeping on my record right now, so
and it is Summer Games Done Quick this week.
Ooh,
is it?
So I don't know if Chocolate Freeze is on the list, but I'll sick RPD on looking at it.
Let's see if I can do that. I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's a charity speed run. I thought you have to pre-register for it months in advance, I'm sure. But I'm just interested to see if anybody else is going to take on your record on SGDQ.
Oh, I'm scared.
Would be cool.
That would be cool if I did that. But also,
I mean, it would be cool if you could go if you signed up for that. I would volunteer as your commentator.
All right,
sure.
Who's got info on this? Drop it.
We'll look into it for next year.
Yeah, we'll put it in we'll research and put it in the podcast Discord.
Yeah,
there you go. Anyway, so that was fun. Little Donkey Kong, not shitty. Still, I feel like some of my runs were pretty smooth. So we'll see how that goes.
Excellent.
The end. That's all I got. Yeah, lots of Elden Ring. It's fucking amazing. Still, the game is so good.
I can't wait to get back to playing that game.
You can play it however you want. We're doing just blades, basically. We have a sweet bow also. We're using the pulley bow.
Oh, cool.
Really strong at a short
pulley bow's
distance.
good, yeah.
But that's it. Two fucking katanas and a pulley bow.
It's cool.
That's my life.
I dig it.
Spells.
Zach, what about you, man? What you been up to? What games you been playing?
A couple of games. Just kind of doing this. Just trying to work through some games that I've got outstanding before my tiny human arrives in just about a month before my daughter arrives. So I know, right?
That's exciting.
It's very exciting. Mass Effect did a little bit more of that. I'm surprised. So I know that game is a lot longer than I'm seem to be making it on stream. I'm only playing the main plot on stream. So all the side quests and stuff have just been sitting in my inbox. I'm not even bothering with them unless I happen upon them or I have a couple minutes left at the end of a stream. So I feel like the side quests are part of what makes that game long, but maybe I'm just not remembering the plot right. I feel like I'm a lot further into the game than I am. Someone in my chat mentioned that what's interesting about the Mass Effect and what's really cool about the Mass Effect games is that every level feels just as desperate as any other level. Like they all seem super important, so you always feel like that sort of climactic, like this is an important fight feeling.
That's always nice.
Which is part of what makes that game so special, I think. So I'm really enjoying that. I've been off stream because of the topic we're going to cover tonight, and at Paul's cajoling and recommendation, I've been playing a lot of God of War.
Dad of boy.
Boy. He never refers to him as Atreus. He's just boy.
I think he says it a few times.
He does. It's like a couple times, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I love the Norse mythology stuff. I never really got into God of War. For one thing, I didn't have any PlayStation devices, but for another, I like the Greek and Roman stuff. The Greco-Roman stuff had just never super appealed to me. I like
Boo. Sorry,
but
go
ahead.
I
don't like it nearly as much as I like the North stuff.
To be fair, I am Greco-Roman. Like I'm Italian and Greek, and like I was obsessed with Greek and Roman mythology. Growing up all my life, and kind of avoided Norse mythology because I was like, who needs it, But in my later life, and actually this will play into kind of what I'm playing right now too. I've really gotten into Norse mythology and that kind of stuff. I think it's really, really cool and super interesting. So
think of how many shows have come up in games.
Right.
So when I was in high school, my buddy who I used to play games with, and I were responsible for reading Iliad and Odyssey in class.
Excellent.
And we did that, and they were great. It was a fun read. I enjoy reading. I'm a librarian, so that goes with the territory. But we were like, is there anything else that's kind of like tangentially related? And his dad handed us a copy of the Icelandic sagas, which is that thick.
Oh yeah,
it's thicker than the dictionary. And it was very. He's like, pick like a character and go deep. And we read, and it's like, this guy, son of that guy, son of Hrothgar, son of Trafalgar, blah, 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 blah. And it's pages of son of this guy, daughter of this guy, slayer of this guy. Like, it's just introducing a name. And we're like, is there a condensed version of this?
It's like Deuteronomy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he laughing, my friend's dad handed us a copy of some just condensed Norse mythology, and we got really into it. The whole Viking stuff and the traveling and all that happened in the early
800s.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I've been on a huge Viking kick lately, like real deep.
That's
going real deep on that shit.
So
on that stuff.
I'm really, really enjoying God of War or Dad of Boy or whatever you want to call it. I hopefully that'll be a review that I do before I go on hiatus for a little while. I'm almost through it. We just made it into Jotunheim. So
I feel like Paul did this review when Colin was on the show, but maybe not.
I may have, but I don't think we have record of that. So I'd be totally down to have that game reviewed again and have a different perspective. So
sure.
We do not have it on the list.
Yeah.
So yeah,
perfect. It's yours.
Yep. Cool.
I also like back then we didn't really do reviews.
Yeah, you just did like hot takes, basically.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun. And then my niece invited me to her track meet, and her sister brought along their Switch, and I heard some very familiar noises coming from it, because usually she plays Animal Crossing and I couldn't be bothered to care.
It was Bowser.
No, better, Josh.
Scoodly boodly doodly.
Better than that, hopefully.
Yeah.
She was playing Link's Awakening.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And she was crushing it. Like, oh my god, she got through to the first major dungeon.
Nice.
Okay, that's pretty good.
She's 7.
Yeah, that's cool.
She's 7 years old.
That's
her 14-year-old sister can't do that.
That's right when I got that game. It was 7. Yeah. Like my 7th birthday is when I got that game.
And I texted Paul, I'm like, there's hope for the generation.
Yeah.
There's hope for this generation.
Let's see if she gets through Face Shrine.
We'll see. I mean, she picks it up and puts it down, and that's as it should be for someone that age.
True.
So it was really cool to see her play.
Yeah, I didn't beat that game for like 2 years after.
Oh yeah, it'll be a while for her.
Took a while, yeah.
But you know that made me really proud. It's proud uncle moment. And then finally, and this will transition right into what Paul has to say. Paul, Adam, Chamali, and I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah, freaking fun! Oh my god!
On the Switch,
we were giggling. Yeah,
no, we played on Game Pass. Yeah.
But we were giggling like children the whole time. It was literally the closest I've felt to couch co-op playing an online game.
Yeah, it's just like crazy nostalgia factor. You know, like I mean, I said this while we were playing. Like, I can't wait until my Switch copy arrives. I got one of the limited run copies.
Me too.
And I'm gonna have friends over and get some Jones soda and a couple of pizzas, and we're gonna just jam on that game like the good old days, you know, with like Turtles in Time and shit like that.
I was saying to my niece, the middle one, the 14-year-old, the other day, we need to before they move. They're moving. Before they move, I have to educate them. Mm-hmm. Turtles is an integral part of the state history of New Hampshire. They started here, and they are our little corner of nerd history.
Yeah, there you go.
They need to sit down with me and play Shredder's Revenge, at least a little bit of it, and appreciate the glory of the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting over here with...
What you got?
Oh, this bag is full of original Turtles comics.
Damn.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah. I have the full Eastman Laird run. Mirage Studios.
That's so cool. I have. I don't know. Did I show this off last week or was it on my stream? It's gonna get keyed out.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's Metalhead.
That's Metalhead. Oh my god, that's so sick.
I bought that because like that was my favorite action figure when I was. I mean, this obviously is not the original. This is the 7-inch one. But,
we all had that original one though.
It was my favorite Turtles figure. Even though Mike was my favorite turtle, like Metalhead was my favorite action figure.
Yeah.
You know. So I had to pick that up. I was excited about it. But yeah, so like Zach said, I played that game. That was dope. Yeah, super good. It really you know, it's funny because that game is basically just Scott Pilgrim with Ninja Turtles. Yep. And I would even say that Scott Pilgrim might have a little more depth as far as like secrets and stuff is concerned.
Well, it also
and playable characters.
Scott Pilgrim's a little more River City Ransom.
Yeah.
Where this one is, I mean, it has the collectibles and stuff, but they're they're the same. I mean, you collect bugs and VHS tapes and diaries and stuff. You just bash things open to find them.
Yeah. But the caveat would be, you know, so like on paper, Scott Pilgrim's a better game. But the caveat to that is this really, really, they went above and beyond to hit you with that nostalgia in a good way. You know, they've got like as many of the original voice actors as they could get to do, you know, the voice lines. You know, a lot of the techniques are either from the original games or like pulled directly from the old show. The intro is in the style of the old show and it's so good. It's like
legitimately I was crying when I turned it on the first time. I'm like, this is so special. Like I cannot express how special that seeing that intro was.
It really is great. The colors are so good. Like every character just feels like it has its personality.
Well, it felt, I think it was either me or Adam that said, or maybe it was us together, who said it's like playing a Super Nintendo game that's not restricted by the color palette.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Was it me? Okay.
Yeah.
And And it really is. I mean, it is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
And it is all sprite. It's the same sprite work team from Scott Pilgrim, from Mercenary Kings, both of which we've rated very highly on the show. Let's see, Scott Pilgrim. I mean, Scott Pilgrim was held back a little bit because the
online
problems. Yeah,
terrible.
I had that at an 8.7. Mercenary Kings. I can't be that far down. Maybe we didn't. Did we not? Maybe we didn't do a review for that one.
I don't remember that.
For Scott Pilgrim?
No, for Mercenary.
Oh, Mercenary. Yeah. I mean, unless you did, I didn't review it.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Maybe I throw it together before too long. But yeah, I mean, Mercenary King is also very highly rated. This might honestly, and I'll put this review properly together. This might actually end up being a 9.8.
It's really good. I mean, there's people saying, and I don't agree with this because of the nature of the game, I don't think it really qualifies for Game of the Year. But there are people saying this is their Game of the Year. I can't.
I am one of those people.
I just don't.
I'm aware that Elden Ring came out this year.
Yeah.
You know,
no competition. This is a Return of the King situation.
Sure. Yeah. It is excellent though. What else did I do? Like I said, I did the Mario Kart thing over at a homie's house. That was a lot of fun. I have been obsessed with Vikings lately. So like I watched all the way through the original Vikings show. I watched the first season, which there only is one so far, of Vikings Valhalla on Netflix. And then I've also been I started The Last Kingdom. And what I've been doing is, because they all have historical characters in them, but they all take serious liberties with those characters. And so, like, as events happen in these shows, I've been like, Googling those characters and like reading like the actual history or, whatever as close to the actual history as we have information on these people. Because some of those. The thing about the Viking stuff is Vikings didn't really have a recorded history. The sagas were songs,
Right.
And the sagas weren't recorded until much later, and they were mostly recorded by Christian, like English historians. And so not only did they probably have like a little bit of their own spin on them, but it was also probably hundreds of years of the telephone game via these songs.
Yeah.
But it's still really fucking interesting. So that inspired me. I was like, I want to play a Viking game. And so Vikings Valhalla Assassin's Creed Valhalla is on PlayStation Plus on the new service. It's part of the library. And so I downloaded that and started playing that. Which I am not really an Assassin's Creed fan. I tried playing the first two and both of them bored the shit out of me. And so I kind of backed off of those. But I've heard good things about some of the most, the more recent ones. Actually kind of starting with the pirate one, I think is when people started really getting on board, no pun intended, with
That's actually when I fell off the franchise.
That's interesting.
I always thought the Ezio saga was the best part of the entire franchise.
Yeah, I could understand people thinking that. But again, I another thing is I was bitter that they got rid of Prince of Persia in lieu of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed basically took over all the devs from Prince of Persia and they just sacrificed Prince of Persia. So that kind of like steered me away from it. But I'm not far in the game yet, but it's been enjoyable, for what it is. The controls aren't great for a game that was made in, I think it came out in 2019. I think is when it came out. Maybe 2020. But you would expect tighter controls, but they're not terrible either. And like the raiding mechanics are cool, and that's really what I wanted. I wanted to just role play as a Viking, and go like do raids and shit. So That's kind of cool. I'm stoked about that. I'm still not like super sold on it, but it's definitely scratching an itch right now, you know. What else have I been playing? Ooh, I'm gonna review this, so I won't go too in depth on it. But I started playing a game called Ninja Village for Samurai Saturday that was recommended by someone in the Discord, and it's a game that I would never have expected to enjoy, but I've like totally fallen in love with it. It's so freaking charming. So I'll talk about that more here in a little bit when I do a quick review on it. But I think that's mostly it. I probably played a couple other games here and there, but I think that's what I've been putting most of my time into. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, boys. Awesome. Does anyone have any current events?
Yes.
Zach, tell us.
So my current event is exclusive to me, really. I, as we are all well aware, all of us on the podcast absolutely fell head over heels for the new Metroid game, Metroid Dread.
Of course.
And I went ahead and bought all of the Metroid games in their original format, except for the Prime games. Haven't got there yet because I don't have a way to play them, but I'm working on it. And my local tattoo guy opened up bookings for the first time in a very long time, very recently. And this happened, Paul.
I got you, homie.
Oh, you got it. Okay, yeah.
I got you, homie.
This is my new Samus tattoo. It is an homage to obviously Metroid Dread. She's wearing her base armor.
Can't see.
Is it not?
It's up there. It's up there. He's probably on delay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. What? Amazing.
It has the green wispy stuff that is sort of the X-Parasite from Fusion. And she's in a pose directly ripped from Super Metroid concept art. So it is a amalgamation of my top 3 Metroid games, and I am very fond of it. It is extraordinarily itchy right now. That's why I'm a little fidgety today, or a little more fidgety than usual. But it looks so cool. And Josh Belanger, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Giant shout out to him. He does awesome work at Grim North Tattoo in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
It looks awesome. I love it. And honestly, like the X-Parasite sold that game for me. Like I was kind of on the fence on that game for quite a while. And then I got to that part of the game and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah,
this is awesome. They tied in the lore. They did such a good job, and I could no longer be a curmudgeon about that game. you know,
so Josh, by the way, my tattoo artist Josh, by the way, is not a fan of Metroid. He is not, and not that he doesn't like it. He just never played it. So the fact that he was able to roll in all 3 of those properties, all 3 of those games, was absolutely mind blowing to me. He did such an awesome job on it. And Samus represents to me, my tattoos have to represent something to me in some way. So I have the 2 Mega Man characters, X and Zero, who are best friends. That is to represent me and the bond that I have with my friends, particularly my best friend Travis, who I grew up playing Mega Man with. But Samus to me represents, she is arguably the most badass female lead character in video gaming. She certainly has the longest lifespan.
Trying to think of other
Lara Croft.
There's certainly Lara Croft. There's Aloy from the new, but she doesn't have the history, you know.
Exactly.
She's
exactly. And so with I'm about to have a baby girl, and obviously I'm going to raise her on video games as the best I can.
And you're naming her.
No, Samus. I'm not going to name her. She is named Kara, which is to me a direct homage to Supergirl. But
Kara, Samus Aran, Zach's last name.
Zach's last name.
I don't think that would go over very well. Although my wife did say she likes the name Samus. So baby number 2. No,
there you go. There you go.
I had to put something on my leg that's both video gamey and representative of all the badass, awesome women in my life. I love you all. You know who you are. So this is cool.
Very cool. Yeah. I dig it, man. Josh, any current events for you, my guy?
Not that cool. I didn't do anything. Let's see. Current events.
Maybe if you don't have one, it's fine.
Yeah, I haven't been following anything.
I haven't. So. I've been kind of out of the loop too. I've just been too busy.
Super out of the loop. Yeah. I know E3 happened, so we have some bullshit that happened there.
Yeah, fake E3, right? Like E3. Well, I mean, E3 doesn't really exist anymore. Yeah, they keep saying they're coming back, but who knows? Yeah.
The age of the internet, it's impossible.
Well, you know what though? I will say this. So what did happen was Summer Games Fest, right? Which is Jeff Keighley's thing, and this is kind of my current event anyway. So we'll just talk about it. And you know, it was fine, and you know, people did some presentations. There was a couple game announcements, nothing crazy. But what a lot of people really, especially in the industry, really kind of have been noticing and commenting on is like the lack of like personal, you know, like it just doesn't feel personal anymore, right? Like E3 really was something special, and I think there's value in that coming back at the appropriate time for the industry. You know, I think that a lot of the industry has been slowed down because of like the whole COVID situation and all that business, all these crows hanging out. But isn't that
the
what
industry has been
are?
slowed down by crows hanging out of Paul's apartment. News at 11.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened. You know, the pandy. But I think that when things kind of calm down, I think it would be valuable for the industry for this to come back. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know how, but you know, you can tell that people miss it. You can tell that there's like the soul of what it brought to the gaming industry is gone right now. So.
Well, it's not even just E3. Like PAX has been weird. Mm-hmm. BlizzCon has been weird. Even as you know, smaller scale as Rooster Teeth Expo (RTX), mm-hmm. which I know is still a big thing. What's the room for them right now with the way the internet is acting? And I think what it boils down to is the social aspect. There and E3 keeps shooting themselves in the foot by being like, no, it's a developer only, or like a media only event or whatever it is. Open it up to the public again. Make events, make tournaments, make social gaming a thing again. And not in the, you know, Pokemon Ghost headspace of it all.
Yeah. That being said, also, we haven't really heard from Nintendo. There is a direct tomorrow. It's a partner direct, so it's like a third party, like mini direct. I would expect, just judging by what we've seen the last few years, that we're gonna get the big direct in August, which is, you know, totally out of sync with this like E3 season.
There's Sony, a bunch of March targeting.
Yeah, Sony also, they did kind of a presentation at the beginning of this, but it was also really subdued, and we didn't get a lot of people speculate that there's more news coming from Sony, but we don't know.
Sony did just make a bunch of big moves, bringing a lot of huge games to PC. Spider-Man's coming to PC.
That's true.
Last of Us.
Yeah. I mean, that was their big like presentation, you know, that was their big thing. So that's exciting, but there's not like that next big thing, right? Which is kind of what we always look forward to. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Anything else, boys?
No, seems okay.
Good. I'm gonna get into this review real quick. So
here we go.
Swink. Excellent. All right. So the game that I am reviewing today is called Ninja Village. This is a charming little game developed by Kairosoft. It released originally March 25th, 2013. So it's not a new game by any means. I played it on PC through Steam, but it's available on the Nintendo Switch, on the PS4, iOS, Android, and Windows, of course. So this game is not my typical style of game at all. I do not really like resource management. I'm not really huge on, you know, like town building and you know, that kind of business. But there's just something about this game, like just like it oozes with charm. There's not really a story. It's kind of just you unifying Japan. So it's kind of like you role playing the Sengoku period. But you're not like there are like famous clans that you know subjugate and shit. But it's not like really following, you know, the story. You're not like playing as Nobunaga or Hideyoshi or anything like that. But you know, that's kind of it. Like that's as far as it goes with story. So the story doesn't really exist. So was it engaging? You know, that doesn't really apply. The gameplay, however, is super fun. Like I said, it's very simple. You're just, you know, building a town, setting up shops, trying to make money, building an army, subjugating your neighboring villages, and conscripting them into your army. Okay. And yeah, easy peasy. It's cool. You get like your villagers that occupy your town also double as your heroes in battle. And as you progress through the game, you can acquire more heroes. More of them can come into your battle. So they will add like bonuses and stuff to your units, depending on like whether you put them in the cavalry or with your gunners or with your archers or you know, with your foot soldiers. So that's really cool. You can really kind of customize how your units react based on, you know, what heroes you have in those armies. And then, like, you know, every now and again, you just go into battle, and it's like there's very little strategy involved. You basically can tell your archers who to attack. You know, they're the only ones that can attack behind the front line, so that does matter a little bit, but not a ton. It's mostly a game of numbers to a certain degree. But again, it does it in such a simple way and such a charming way that even though there's not a lot of complexity to it, it's still really, really fun. How's the art? The art is, I think, fantastic for how simple it is. You know, it looks like a Super Nintendo game. Cute little sprites murdering the shit out of each other. You know, it's cool. Normal. It's cool. It's adorable. Everything's grid based. I mean, it's not the most stunning thing you've ever seen, but it gets the job done, you know? The music is good, though I will say it's repetitive, and it's just kind of like traditional sounding Japanese music. There's not a ton of variation. Like you've got like your town music, your map music, and your battle music. That's pretty much it. But it's not bad. So that's fine. Sound design, very simple, not complicated. Again, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's also not like the greatest thing in the world. Think Super Nintendo. You know. Let's see. How long did it take me to beat? I did this in 3 streams. You could probably, if you knew, like, if I played through this game a second time, I would approach it very differently. In like what towns I attacked first, what units I gave, you know, what weapons to, you know, based on what bonuses they have, where I put them in my lineup, things like that, which would make me able to beat this game a lot quicker. But, you know, I beat it in probably, let's say 10 hours. Actually, I guess a little longer than that, because one of my streams went super long. I played it all freaking day. Not this last Saturday, but the week before. So maybe a little longer than that. But I think you could easily beat this game in 10 hours if you knew what you were doing. The goal is to basically unify all of Japan within 16 years. I didn't accomplish that, but you can continue playing after that 16 years and still beat the game. So I technically lost, but it's okay. Second time around, I'd kick its ass. I'm confident. Let's see. Was the game difficult? Not particularly difficult. You could say it's fairly grindy in some aspects, but again, that really depends on whether or not you've managed your resources correctly. I didn't, so it was a little harder for me than it could have been. But those people that are savvy with this type of game, I don't think they'd have much of a problem with. Would I play a sequel? Yeah, probably. I mean, like I said, this game, not typically my style of game, but I had so much freaking fun playing it. I would not hesitate to play it again, as long as it still had that same level of charm as this one did. Overall rating and impression. This was a very good game. It's definitely, it's not super complex. It's kind of, very, like, the game runs at 20 frames per second, like, it's not like the most advanced game in the world. It's got a couple issues here and there, nothing crazy. Entertainment Nerd says these graphics are bussin'. Yeah. I'm going to put this at like a solid 7-9, just on pure fun factor, right? Like, and charm. There's not really a story to speak of. There's not a ton of depth, but it is just so charming and so fun. Like, I can't help but recommend this game.
So that puts it slightly below Goof Troop and slightly above Samurai Warriors 5.
Yeah.
Right in the same vein.
Dude, I would rather play this game than Samurai Warriors 5, for sure.
Yeah. So it puts it better. I mean, Josh also had Yoshi's Crafted World, Doom 64, Kirby 64, all at 7.8.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Sounds like it's slotting right in there.
Yeah.
Perfect call, Paul.
It's super fun. It's super fun. Anyway, check it out, guys. That is the review. Let me switch us back to the main thing. Shrink. Cool. We have a topic today.
We do.
Something to talk about.
I didn't write anything for the topic, but we do have a topic. We have been busy, but I think this is something that we can kind of, spitball a little bit. The topic is movie making techniques in video games.
Oh yeah. Effective, dumb, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. If done right, which we definitely have some examples of it being done right, I think it's very effective. I also have some examples of it done wrong, which I'll bring up here in a minute. But yeah, let's talk about games that have done it right to start out.
I mean, the glaring example is God of War. Boy.
I've
oh my God,
been on record saying many times that
actually,
well, glaring in a good way. I don't know.
I think that Uncharted is a better, but I think God of War also.
Okay,
I think as far as how movies are done,
sure,
Uncharted uses like a lot of cinematography and like scene
posturing. For sure.
He's got a good point. God of
War is pretty all over the place.
I've been on record saying God of War is the best movie I've ever played.
It's just like a Marvel movie. Like it's not like a regular movie.
It is, but the thing about God of War is it very rarely pulls you out of the same over the shoulder camera. It's always over Kratos' shoulder. There's a couple of scenes, even though they call a lot more of it, this is a cutscene. And I've been pausing a lot just to see what is a cutscene and what isn't, because it is seamless. It is seamless.
That first fight with, is it Boulder? Who is it that you're fighting in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so cinematic.
It's so cinematic. Yeah.
It's really, really cool. But it doesn't, like, it stays in that over the shoulder camera, which is not a particularly effective camera or filmmaking technique. In fact, it's very rarely used.
That's what I'm saying. It's more like
where Uncharted, I think Josh is absolutely right. Uncharted goes all over the place with the cameras. Now, granted, when you're in a cinematic in that game, which is, that stands true for most games, really, because the cameras are cutting around and you're seeing different angles and that. Where God of War uses it in a much more immersive experience by making it seamless between gameplay and cinematic moment,
making it almost like you're within the moment.
Exactly. It feels like that an extended version of that scene in the movie Doom with The Rock and Carl Urban, which is a terrible movie, but it goes into a first person thing that's like actually really innovative. And I wish they'd
Hardcore Henry.
Yep, Hardcore Henry. Yep, that's a good example. I want to say The Raid did it.
Oh, did it? That's a movie like I'm wearing a Bruce Lee shirt. It's obvious that I'm a huge martial arts fan, and that's a movie that everyone's been telling me I need to see.
You haven't seen The Raid?
Dude, for some reason I have not managed to see The Raid ever.
See 1 and 2 in a row.
Yeah, I need to.
Do yourself a favor. They're both so good.
I think I have both.
I've watched most martial arts movies, but for some reason I've never gotten around to watching The Raid.
You're missing out because this holds no bars. This movie, like how other movies, they're like, oh, that
this
punch
holds no broken, bars, no holds are barred.
This punch should have broken that guy's face, but it didn't. Nah, that's gonna happen in this one. You're gonna punch through his chest or something like. It's the most fucking brutal martial arts you've ever seen.
So good too, though.
It's so realistic, like in how they do it.
So and like. The cinematography in The Raid is what I kind of expected out of a brutal game like God of War.
Yeah.
When I'm swinging those the axe or the chains around, like I feel freaking powerful.
Yeah, you know what's funny is the original God of War games do a better job of hitting those more like cinematically pleasing moments.
That's what I'm thinking is like God of War 3.
Yeah. I mean, there's straight up times where like it looks like a scene out of like an anime or something like that. Like, and it's not over the shoulder like in the new God of War, Dad of Boy.
Yeah. And other games do it differently. Like Metroid Dread did it really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we mocked the melee counter stuff pretty relentlessly.
I love that.
You didn't. You loved it.
But I did. I think it's a crutch.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's awesome.
But when you're fighting a boss and it does that, and you get to do that melee counter, and it goes again, it cuts the camera. It changes the camera perspective. I think that's a huge part of it. Honestly, is if the game's going to use filmmaking techniques, it needs to change the camera angle. Mm-hmm. It needs to shake up the camera angle from what you're used to. Metroid, of course, being
jarring. Yeah.
Right. And it literally takes that camera from the conventional 2D Metroid perspective, brings it around probably between 45 and 90 degrees, probably most of the time somewhere between 60 and 80. And you're seeing a 3D Metroid game. Yeah. And it actually even goes into the helmet at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, yeah.
And that appeals to every Metroid player from Prime right on to the original series.
Exactly.
Yeah, the game.
Change it. Yeah,
the game's good.
The game is really good.
I hate to say it, but that game's fantastic.
It's almost time for a replay.
Yeah. I know. I keep watching like speed runs and stuff.
Hasn't been long enough yet.
Yeah, it hasn't quite been long enough. I'm not ready yet.
So
I just recently played Fusion and Super. So
those are some games that did the cinematic thing well, right? Like using movie making techniques to like enhance the visual aspects of the gameplay.
Yeah.
What are some games that didn't do it well?
Anything FMV. Tender love and care.
Okay. Do you have anything, Josh? Can you think of any?
I'm thinking like some really bad cutscene games.
Not necessarily even cutscenes. Like actually, you know what? I've got a good one. Metroid Other M.
Oh.
Yes.
Metroid Other M tried to do a lot of the things that the new Metroid does very well, Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
But it did it extremely poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder now if sorry, Blink, that FMV means full motion video. I wonder now if part of the delay of Metroid Dread was they didn't know how to get that transition right.
I doubt it. And the reason I say that is because Metroid Dread, I think originally was supposed to be a direct follow-up to Fusion. And so they were going to do, probably more of like a pixel art style game than what we ended up with, which I'm glad it got delayed so long.
Oh my god!
Because what came out was a thing.
I just thought of a better example. I have two examples now. I'll start with the less egregious. So I think Resident Evil. No one get mad at me for this, but
I'm with you 100%.
There are a few games that do it correctly and do some cutscenes that are seamless, like God of War. But a lot of it is jarring, and it like immediately takes you out of your gameplay and like puts you in a completely cinematic scene. And then a lot of things are rapidly happening like all at once. And the ones that are like, whatchamacallit, what do they call it when you press the buttons to make the actions?
Quick time events.
The things that are like quick time events.
That's what is happening in Metroid Dread.
Yeah, I think that counts to an extent. And that is like super jarring in these games because like so many things you're like exploding and flying through a helicopter and you have to do all these things in a row that like you don't take in any of it.
Right. Well, and it's really bad when you just have like a big circle closing in on a button.
Yeah.
Like just give me some other indicator that's not so obvious. You know? Like Dread did it well. Like there's not like it's not like it's just like a flash of light, right? Or like whatever. Yeah. It's not like this stupid circle closing in on a bee.
Yeah. Like, no Space Marine.
Yeah.
But the most egregious, I hate to even bring it up because it is actually.
Oh God! Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
Yes, I am. But Breath of the Wild.
Okay, that's where we're leaving that one.
Honestly,
I want to hear what part of the cinematicness we're talking about.
And the cinematics are solely like left to the cutscenes, basically in this game. Whereas some of the action, like slowing down your bow and stuff in midair, is like cinematic, but it's not necessarily what I would consider that. The cutscenes not only are like totally sporadic, but they don't like give you any information and they're totally just random scenes. Like, you know what I mean? So like some of the things you're experiencing could be so far off from the quest you're on. You're like, what the fuck? What did that? I don't even understand the reference. Like, what is this trying to tell me? The acting is poor. There's a lot of things missing on it.
Well, like, it's also
as far as trying to do what a movie does, but like really missing the mark.
I think the games that we mentioned that do this well accomplish that cinematic feeling without doing a cutscene per se.
Exactly.
Right?
That's a big deal.
So like you're not stopping the gameplay. It's not like you're totally out of control of what's going on. I would even say that the Metroid games in general, like even the old ones, are a good example because a lot of what's going on in those games is done very cinematically while you're playing the game through subtext, right? Like you'll see like, you'll walk into a room and there will be like this like carapace or whatever, right? Or like this creature, and then you go do the shit and then you come back later and like it's gone or there's only part of it there, right? And then you go do some other shit and you come back later and it's a boss, right? Like those kind of things are like really good, like cinematic moments that don't halt the gameplay.
I mean, that's drawing right from the horror genre.
Yeah.
In the case of Metroid, that's why it's so terrifying in its strange little video gamey way. Another example that has bugged me for years, a couple actually. I'll start with Mass Effect, but because Mass Effect, every time you finish a mission, you get a cutscene, which is kind of an old school approach. And when I'm streaming it, that's my opportunity to just jibber jabber. I'm not paying any attention to what's actually going on in that scene, other than when it asks me for a dialogue option. And then I'm just looking for the blue one or the top right corner and clicking on it. And it's very mindless, and I just keep jibber jabbing away to the chat. Spider-Man, I did the same thing. Anytime I saw a cutscene, I was just kind of looking for that stupid closing circle and hitting the button. And if it worked, it worked. And if not, I would start over. The other example that I have that borrows a lot of filmmaking techniques, and necessarily, I might add, is Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead is, you're making a movie. That's the premise of the game, sort of behind the scenes. And it's a first-person shooter through and through. You maybe get a little bit of a cutscene at the very beginning of a level, at the very end of a level. But it actually does a really good job keeping you in the action without using cutscenes at all within the action. You feel like you're making a movie. You feel like you have control of some camera angles, but you never actually do. It's just first person. Valve did a really good job with that.
I would say another example of it being done bad is like almost every PS3 game, but specifically Genji Days of the Blade, which is the second Genji game. The first one is excellent on the PS2. The second one should have been excellent. It's a gorgeous game. And they sacrificed the gameplay in lieu of cinematic camera angles and beauty, right? So you're playing this game that looks fantastic and very cinematically pleasing, but the problem is the different camera angles and stuff that they choose really interfere with combat and gameplay. And there's some areas and levels that, even though it's doing the thing that we want it to do, right, which is not take us out of the gameplay, but still deliver that really good cinematic quality, it's getting half of that right, by delivering really cool cinematic looking stuff, but you can't play it effectively. And that is a huge bummer. And I think there's actually a lot of games on the PS3 that do that, unfortunately. I think
that era was really interested in using graphic technology in that way, even on PC.
I mean, that's right around the same time as Other M, so,
Right.
I think you're right.
Warhammer Dawn of War was that way. They were trying to be StarCraft. Now, a real-time strategy game, in order to tell any story, you have mission briefings, which is pretty much audio only, and cutscenes. Those are your options. The gameplay is almost superfluous because in some way, shape, or form, those are usually developed as multiplayer games, multiplayer competitive. So Dawn of War tried really hard to use these, well-designed, very beautiful cutscenes the same way Warcraft 3 did, and kind of fell short, which is, I think, personally why Space Marine succeeded so well, is because it when it was telling story bits, they were really short blows, and they were really pretty, using, again, high-end filmmaking techniques that didn't break you out of the immersion. Unfortunately, it definitely did use this closing circle at the very end fight, and I was very upset about that because it's the only time that happens.
Yeah,
pretty much. But there's room for learning and growing, I guess.
Sure. Anything else, boys? Any other comments that you have about like cinematic techniques in gaming?
They're all good.
They are.
It's something I really do think the best technique is to make it like so seamless you don't necessarily know if you're in a cutscene or not.
Yeah.
Like, so a surprising one that's really quick that I'll give that comes to mind is the old Kirby games. You would basically just be like running through a room and like just get stopped, and like a bad guy would come out and like some jiggling and like motions, and you kind of get the idea. And then like either a boss battle would start, or you'd be initiated into the next like scene to get sent to the next world or something like that. Like really quick, informative scenes that just like move you along very easily, and you don't move scenes at all. Metroid does that a lot too, like in a lot of the older games, where literally just walk into a scene and things appear, like you said. So
like in Dread or not Dread, in Fusion with the X Parasite copy of Samus.
Like, so good.
Yeah.
And so that stuff like that really pushes the viewer to like use more of their senses, whereas like some games would be like, I'm telling you what's happening, and you're like, whoa. Like this is like you're watching it, and like you're supposed to react and be like, holy shit, just from something you're solely watching. And that's like an amazing technique if you can like get that off. Like that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say like the boss arrival in the Mega Man X games versus the boss arrivals in the original Mega Man games is a giant level up. When you see Chill Penguin just kind of skirting across the bottom of the screen, and you're like, oh shit, that's a thing that I need to take care of. That's a really cool little cinematic bit that does not break the immersion.
I love that.
What are some cinematic things that you or movie making techniques that you do not like seeing in video games?
Shaky cam.
Yeah.
I hate
seeing shaky cam.
You have these controllers that have incredible feedback. Use that. Stop shaking the dang camera.
That's a good one, yeah.
Please.
Mm-hmm.
I have an issue with when people are going down dramatically to make it look real. Like Elden Ring even does this. Like there's a certain point where you can't like hurt them because of the sake of the animation and like.
Oh my god, I hate that.
You know what I mean? Like it looks great. Like when I fling you across the room for all that to happen, but like there's like 5 seconds then where I can't interact with the bad guy because of it requiring this visual.
And meanwhile, the other bad guys are kicking my ass.
Exactly. So it's like not necessarily like a flaw with that kind of like. I mean, it is kind of though because it's like sacrificing gameplay for movie making. Thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of in a way. Yeah.
This isn't really necessarily a visual thing, but it certainly is a movie making technique that drives me fucking insane, both in movies and in video games.
Oh god.
And that is over exposition.
Oh yeah, especially in video games.
Like when you can't trust me to figure something out for myself and you have to explain it in detail, stop. Because I'm going to stop watching this or I'm going to stop playing this.
I mean, at that point, you're becoming Tommy Wiseau.
Sure.
Yeah. Like you're making a Tommy Wiseau.
Almost no games use no exposition too. So like you're always gonna get some exposition, but like it really depends on how it's written.
Sometimes you need some exposition, right? Like a little bit of exposition is necessary in a lot of situations. Yeah. Elden Ring almost kind of is on the other side of that. Like they're borderline not enough exposition, right? Like you really got to pay attention to what's going on, which is fine. You know, that's what they do. But the flip side of that would be like the beginning of Metroid Dread, where they're like really force feeding you all this information, and it's like, let me just figure this out for myself. You know, like I can learn that from like just what's happening in the game without you having to like force feed me that information. Now, granted, they do better, you know, as the game goes on, but like the first hour of that game is just like,
I agree.
Like, it's foie gras. Although
I will say, it's been so long between Fusion and Dread that you're now bringing in new players.
Link says ban lens flares.
He is absolutely freaking correct.
I don't mind a lens flare here and there, but yeah, you can overdo it.
Yeah, well, in video games, when the lens flare is there just as a visual thing, like, hey, look at what we can do. We've got PlayStation 5 graphics.
There's some really good lens flares in Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes, there is.
Remember Wind Waker HD remake? Like, like just so many lens flares, and I'm like, well, it is hot, so I guess I can justify it. But like,
sure, but it's
so
like
egregious. Yeah, it's a lot of lens flares. Like, it looks so bright.
Who invited J.J. Abrams to the party?
Yeah, literally. Like, there's a nuclear explosion on the horizon. Like,
So, yes, I agree. Lens flares are problematic.
That's one that they use egregiously. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I think we're probably going to do maybe one or two more kind of movie, video game topics. It's going to vary a little bit. We're probably going to go the other direction, right? Like what video game techniques have impacted movies, or even I actually think, you know, if you watch sports, there's a lot of like video game influence in like the camera techniques that they use. We can talk about that. So we'll probably dive into some of that in the coming weeks. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. Thanks everyone for hanging out. If you're watching this live, you're watching it on my Twitch channel. I do video games on Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays. Maybe I'll get back to more consistent Thursdays, but I really like going to taco night on Thursdays, so we'll see. But then Saturdays we do Samurai Saturday. It's always a samurai game. So I'm thinking about there's a couple games that I might check out, but I've been wanting to get back into this game, which is sort of the samurai. It's Kengo 2. And the Kengo games are a spiritual successor to the Bushido Blade games. And they're very good. They're very fun, super realistic, like sword combat. Okay. So very cool. They're not easy. They're hard, but you know, pretty cool. So I've been thinking about getting back into that one. So we'll see. And then of course we're back here on Mondays for the podcast. So that's where you can find us. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, share. Sharing's the most important. It is also caring. God, we all said
Didn't
it.
See that one come from.
That's okay. We're done. Anyway, if you want to yell at me on Twitter, it's at Ryugami-sama. It's right down there.
Tweet the man.
Tweet. Yeah, I say stupid stuff.
We all do.
Jokes. Josh, where can we find you, man?
Yes. Yes, find me at Lord Yeshua and Lord Yeshua TTV at all my socials and maybe see something. You never know. Yeah. That's it. Maybe a new Donkey Kong.
Those Elden Ring streams were really fun, man.
They were really fun.
And dude, I'm telling you, you need to get back into stream. Like your community is just always like itching to have a stream. You know, you can stream or you can not stream for months and then, you know, just kick one on at random and there's always people there. You know,
they do love me, don't they?
Like you really need to get back into it, man.
Yeah, I want to bring the peeps all back together. That'd be nice.
Zach, what about you, dude?
I'm on Twitch at Another Letdown. I will be live this week on Wednesday, back to my normal slot for Mass Effect. Zach Sucks at Games. A lot of fun. And then Saturday for miniatures painting, working on finishing up the Defenders. I've got Prince Namor the Submariner over here. He's kind of hard to see, but there he is. And I am on summer vacation, so I may be live a couple other times. I have a couple of loose ends I want to tie up. Blake wanted me to finish Sentinels of Freedom, so I want to try and do that maybe before the kid arrives. I hope so. But we'll see. We'll have to see. I'm also, there's a chance that my niece might come and play games with me at some point.
That'd be a fun stream.
That'd be fun.
So, yeah. So we'll see.
All righty. Cool. Well, good show, boys. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.